Welcome back, everybody, to another episode. My name is Emery Wolf. Joining me is
Nick Lamb.
And this is Just Two Camera Guys, a show where we're going to talk all things camera. Nick, jumping into it.
Yes.
Popularity. You guys have been having some success on TikTok with the Leroy and Leroy stuff.
Yes. Yeah, that's super
what's
exciting.
it like to be popular?
Well, that's starting to see some success, and it's exciting to have people watching the stuff that we're making and liking it, sharing it, enjoying it. We're not popular, but it's fun to be able to create content that has an audience. Yeah.
How has it changed you as a man? Like, we've all seen the social dilemma and that stuff. Are you seeing that addictive quality? Has it affected you?
Well, it's funny because you did actually. So you'd mentioned earlier, like, how does that affect you? And I'd realized that yes, I did check the numbers before we got on here, and was like, oh, cool, that video's got 300,000 views or whatever. Like, that felt, but yeah, that's probably not a good thing.
But are you doing something to kind of combat it at all?
So basically, well, I don't have TikTok on my phone because I don't know if you've seen the You Betcha guys, but
yeah, they're great.
They've got the 5 stages of TikTok, and the 6th stage of TikTok that they didn't include on there was where you just delete it off your phone, and you have to access it through a computer or whatever. But
so you went through all 5 stages that those guys represent.
Pretty much, yeah. The end where you're mad at the people for wrecking your dance. You're like, oh, I gotta redo that.
Oh, you betcha. That's how it's gonna go.
Oh, those guys are so funny though.
They're pretty good. Something else we need to clear up and get out of the way is we are recording this 1 week before Nick and I both enter the WHL hub in Regina. So we're also actually recording 3 or 4 episodes. I'm not too sure. I think we still have one that's maybe up in the air. We'll talk about that later, Nick. But we're recording all these shows in advance to hopefully release during this time through March and April. So we're sporting the Dub Hub. I've got a shirt on right now. And
nice.
Before we get to our guests, I'm going to actually change into an outfit just to represent that Dub Hub. I want to represent the hub throughout all of our episodes here. So today I'm gonna throw on my boy, Regina boy, Jordan Eberle, one of his jerseys from the New York Islanders, just to represent him. Our other episode that we shot before this, I'm actually wearing a Brooks Lake jersey, and it's because our guest was from Moose Jaw, and that's where Brooks Lake played for 2 years. Not sure you knew that, Nick.
I did not know that.
And then, yeah, the last one, I've got another special jersey to wear for that. And if we do a 4th episode, I'll have another for that, just celebrating the Dub Hub and our work. So with that said, I don't think we need to introduce our next guest. We're talking about popularity here, and he's had a lot of it, a lot more than Nick and I, that's for sure.
Yeah.
What's shaking, everybody?
Oh, not too much. How about you?
Fine Saturday afternoon. Forecast is a little lower than they said it was going to be. Those jerks, but it's fine. Not complaining.
Awesome.
Still got
Apparently, it's hard to predict the weather.
Well, you would, like they're professionals, right? This is what they do. It's like the one thing where you can be wrong all the time and still keep your job.
Is it much different though than being a camera person?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Why doesn't Justin just kind of introduce himself, and then we'll take it away from there?
All right. Well, my name's Justin Reves. I'm not a lifetime camera enthusiast, operator, or anyone who went to school for it. I simply started off making videos because I wanted to take better photos of my kids. And it led me down this deep, dark rabbit hole of YouTube where I learned about camera and how to settings and taking that. And then I learned that my camera could do video. And then I started watching other people making videos like the Casey Neistats of the world, like New World vlogging. I was like, I think I can do this. And so then I started making videos, and that led to making professional videos and starting my YouTube channel, which is not the world's biggest YouTube channel, but I don't know, I'm a little over 17,000
It's
subscribers.
pretty
And,
good.
it's a good start, I guess, and then started doing full-time content on Facebook at some point. I have some videos that have 11 million views, 4 million views, numbers of hundreds of thousands of views across Facebook and YouTube. And so I don't know, I just kind of ended up in this world accidentally, I guess.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's not a bad start for being accidentally.
Yeah. Well,
Is you just mentioned Casey Neistat? So was that
mhm.
like the first kind of cinematographer influence that you had?
Yeah, and it's funny because I think people would look at his stuff, and if you're a true like video enthusiast or even follow like New World YouTube, you have the like Peter McKinnon, Matty Hopoyas of the world who are doing like high quality cinematic production. Casey Neistat is a little bit of not the antithesis to that, but like he doesn't like really color grade. He doesn't like spend a whole bunch of time like, but he is a master storyteller and can do that through a camera of a guy who, had his own HBO show and had been making films for a long time. But I think he really introduced me to a whole different world of filmmaking that so many people would be so much more benefited from watching, which is it's about story. It's not so much about crazy slow motion and beautiful shots and tons of blurry backgrounds. And like, it's just story. And for a lot of people, that are getting into it through the world of YouTube now. A lot of them look at it and go, I know how to do slow motion. So this video should kill because it looks beautiful. But at the end of the day, story is king.
What would be your advice for people to actually to run with that? Like how to interpret stories, how to create them, how to.
Well, fail a lot, I guess. It's funny because everybody I like that's in this new world wants to grow a huge YouTube channel. And even for me, there was hopes early days. Like I kind of started off a lot more on the video blogging side, like the vlogging and making vlogs, because I saw Casey and I thought, oh, this is cool. And I could take this and apply this to, where I live and what I do. And it was really, really bad at the beginning, like really bad. I remember like the first vlog, like aside from technically being horrible, where it was out of focus and shaky and looked terrible, and I didn't know what I was doing, and the story was useless. But after making many, 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 I think I did about 175 vlogs in about 6 or 7 months. And so it was about 5 days a week of shooting during the day and then editing at night. And the one thing I love about vlogging and why I encourage everybody to vlog is the idea of, and like kind of that daily style is you just have to put out whatever you have at the end of the day. And there was only, I think, maybe 1 or 2 times in 7 months that I actually didn't put out the video that I filmed because I actually felt like it wasn't good enough. But in the sense, like lots of them were horrible. It was just like that. There's just nothing, absolutely nothing here. But that ability to like, it's like a muscle. I think creativity is very much a muscle. Like there's a level of talent, but then there's the exercising your talent and just doing it over and over and over and over again, but not just doing the same thing, but actually taking some time to watch it and think about it. That's why I love editing. I love shooting and the editing process because you get a lot of time to like look at it and think about it and go, oh, I could have done this differently. I could do this better next time. The next time I do the shot, I'll think about this, or my story doesn't really, isn't making sense. But yeah, like I would say fail a lot. And then just that, I don't know, the rule of threes for me, it was like, I'll try and think of 3 things to do today. And I learned that directly from Casey, which I'm sure is a big, I never went to film school, but fairly common. Just do things in threes, which is, does it have a start, a middle, and an end? Okay, get it done.
I think that's interesting too that you didn't go to film school. So you basically all self-taught. How did you do that? How did you grow in that?
Yeah, so when I started, I bought a Canon T2i back in, I don't know, 8 or 9 years ago, which is, your entry level Canon. And I was trying to take pictures of our kids, and I was like, these photos aren't very good. And I was talking with somebody who was into film and photography, and he's like, well, do you have a nifty 50? I'm like, what's a nifty 50? And he's like, yeah, it's this 50 millimeter lens. Here you go, just borrow this. and he told me about aperture, how to turn my aperture down. And the first time I took a photo and like eyes were in focus and ears were blurry, it just like light bulbs went off. And I went, I need to figure out how to do this. And so I went on YouTube and was just like, I don't know, photo, how to use a camera. And there was this guy named Jared Polin, Frono's Photo. And he's a 5'8" Jewish guy from Philly with a huge afro. And I started watching him. I was like, this guy is a douchebag. That's what I thought. Because like he's in his loft apartment on director's chair, like over the top. And I wasn't really into YouTube. I didn't know like personality, but I'm like, he knows what he's talking about. And I watched a ton of his videos, and I ended up like getting like a couple of like he had like little online courses for, I don't know, like $80 on how to use flash photography. And then he had a video shooting course that was showing you how to shoot videos with your camera. And I was like, I didn't know I could do this. And so I bought his course for $100 or whatever and did that. And then he had a video editing course. And he was offering some free copies to people in exchange for a review. So I did that. And that's how I got started, was just online. But even these days, like that was 5, 6 years ago. Now you can learn how to shoot photos and videos, no problem, for free on YouTube. There is so much information. It's like, learn something, go practice it. Learn something, go practice it. No problem. You don't like, I've never been on a Hollywood or a TV set, so I have no idea if it would be enough, but I feel like now I know my way well enough around a camera that I could show up and figure out how to operate it.
Yeah, I don't know what like there are some benefits to have the background of working on movies that you can bring to it, but it's more of like tying it together
Mm-hmm.
than getting going and doing it. Like, yeah, I think you're right. I don't think it's that
Yeah,
much of a
it's
disadvantage.
I think it speaks more to the fact that the story is more important.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And just learning, the thing about vlogging experience is it's very much, you're just making something happen, and in some ways just kind of documenting, trying to make something out of a day and trying to find that story. It's a little bit different. I've done some other ones, like I actually have this little video about, I have an 83 Mazda RX-7, this cool little Japanese sports car that's kind of got a crazy story of how it came to me. And that one I went, I actually want to take the time, think about a script, put it together and plan out the shots a little bit more and doing that. And like that's obviously an important thing in how most people would operate in a traditional sense. But the idea of vlogging, of literally like, okay, I got the kids out the door, I'm going to grab my camera. What are we making today? I have no idea. And by the end of the day, before you going to go to bed, I created an entire story today, some better than others. And like that is kind of neat, of literally creating a story as you go, is a cool experience too.
How did you find the time, and like were you working another job while you were doing all that?
Yeah, so it was very helpful for me at these times of doing the vlogging that I had started my own kind of consulting company. And so I would just kind of film in between meetings and phone calls and my work, and kind of carved out a couple hours a day. And in my world, like I'm a 15-year marketing and tech person, and I consult and teach and educate, and there's nothing that drives me more crazy than a consultant who's read 2 books and is now an expert. It's very different. And so when I was consulting with clients a lot on social media in the new world, I need to make sure that I was practicing what I preach. And so that was actually a big part of starting the vlog too, was posting on Facebook, posting on YouTube, clipping things for Instagram stories, and being able to do that whole world. But it's still, so I would carve out a few hours in the day to film the vlogs, but then it was like, come home, supper time, family time, get the kids to bed. And then it was 8 p.m. till midnight or 1 a.m. every night, editing, doing thumbnails, captions, all the, posting to YouTube and doing all those pieces. So, it was a very hectic time. And I would say like daily vlogging is not sustainable for the long term for people, unless you're like really weird, but it costs you something. But it's kind of a sprint, I would say. So wouldn't do it forever. But I started off, I think, 42 days straight, every single day. Started off in a vacation in Mexico, and you just kind of commit to it for a little while, get some buy-in from your spouse, who she didn't get it for the first 7 or 10 days. And then she started seeing what was happening as it started actually doing things and seeing people commenting. And it wasn't that far in that she was going to the drugstore and somebody's like, hey, you're Megan, I've seen you in these
Oh, cool.
videos online. And she was like, wow, like she kind of got it.
Yeah, that's crazy. Um, With that said, I think another important thing that you kind of brought up is that you're really not new to this. So like your current gig, you're still doing the same things.
Yeah, I mean, I've gone through a world of, I was consulting and then I was kind of creating like vlogging, and honestly, like a lot of growth for my YouTube channel actually came because I started reviewing the gear that I was using, these, cheap cameras and lenses that I was putting together. And I mean, cheap, it depends. Like if you come from a traditional world, like very cheap. For some people, they're like, what do you mean? Like, okay, give me a good camera and lens for $150. It's like, no, not quite that cheap, but kind of that in between world is I started just reviewing it and putting it up on YouTube, and YouTube is a search platform. And so people were searching for these cameras and lenses, and, that's been a lot of the growth from the channel. So I kind of went from that world to, I met a guy named Greg, and we started a consulting company together. And we also started this platform called Justin and Greg, which turned into a Facebook Live show, because I was noticing back then that you could post a video on Facebook, but if you posted a live video on Facebook, Facebook would show it to 3 times as many people. And there's no editing on a live one. So if you can prep a live one, do a good live video, and then end it, you're done, as opposed to 4 or 5 hours of editing at the night. And so I wanted to start a Facebook Live show. I met Greg. We started this Facebook Live show. And it was terrible at first. And by the end, we were working with Facebook's live team, which was cool. But it also led to a number of other adventures. Some people may know the stories of the international moose war between Moose Jaw and Norway. That started
Yeah.
off a video. We went to Moose Jaw and filmed a video, and that started that. Or, Rural Uber is a video lots of people have seen because it's got 11 million views and 250,000 shares on Facebook of clips like that. Or trying to get Saskatchewan to adopt the Vegas Golden Knights. That was just started off a video because we wanted to get somebody on our podcast, and their boss said, can you tell us more about your outlet? Meaning like traditional, are you Sportsnet? Are you TSN? Like, who are you? And we're like, well, let's make a video. And so video in the new world is really powerful. And the biggest thing that people don't always understand is, if we go back 20, 25 years ago, if you wanted to have a show, you need to have CBC, a CTV, an NBC, somebody agree to create a pilot for a show and go through that whole process. You needed permission from a network, or else you would have really no audience for it. But in this world today, everybody has direct access to consumers and direct access to that audience. And so you don't need permission. Like, YouTube is the network, and you go create your show for YouTube. And if it's good enough, people find it. Or Facebook, it's good enough and people find it. And that's really special and unique and interesting of the new world, is it just opens up so many more possibilities, where you see literally thousands of creators every week get as many views on their shows on YouTube as the traditional ones do on network television.
Yeah. Going back to the idea of the expensive camera, I remember this is a few years ago, was the GoPro Hero 7 came out, and I was like, oh, I should go check this thing out. And I walk into Best Buy, and I'm kind of looking around, can't find it. Ask, some kid at the thing. He's like, oh, I think they're over here, and he unlocks them, and he's talking to me about them for a little bit. And he's like, yeah, they're nice cameras, but man, they're expensive. And I started like laughing at him in the store. Just
Yeah.
couldn't keep it
Well,
together.
$700 for some people is a lot of money, but it's also like insane these days that what, $1,000 will get you for a camera of like what's possible and capable in that camera it's just insanity for people. 10 years ago, they can't even fathom, they wouldn't have been able to fathom the things that you can do today with your entry level DSLR mirrorless camera. Like, there's really no excuse. And that's a big thing. And I think that's what comes back to the story versus gear thing is, my videos that do the best and, generate the most amount of revenue for me are all camera tech related videos. But do you really need to upgrade your camera to tell a better story? Not really. Like, the tools can help, and there's little pieces depending what you need to do. But that's usually, even for me, sometimes it's like, well, if I want to get motivated or I want to feel like I'm going to step up my game, I'll get a better camera, but I'd actually be better at just practicing my storytelling. But, it's nice to retail therapy every once in a while.
Yeah, right. It's kind of that 80-20 kind of mentality.
Yep,
80% in that story. So that's work on that 20% of that story
for
type
sure.
thing.
Yep.
Going back to something else you talked about, just with Justin and Greg starting up, did you guys have problems like getting people involved with it? Just because at that time it was really like pioneering that way,
Yeah.
and at that time, like you said, there was this difference where they're like, well, what network are you with? And then like people are like, nah, I don't know because of that. So did you guys have problems?
Yeah, I mean, the fundamental part of the show was mostly the main characters of the show, and the guests on the show in many ways were simply the audience. Because in our Facebook Live show, it was a bit of almost like a radio call-in show, but for the new world, where it was Greg and myself talking about like weird, wild, fun, crazy topics and stories that you would just find on the internet. But very early on, we realized that the comments that were happening on the show were as entertaining as the show was, or maybe even more so. And so, very early on, early days, we were finding ways that when somebody would have a good comment, we would put it on the show. And early on, because the technology was just not there, that involved somebody screenshotting on a computer and dragging it onto a monitor in the background of our set, you know. And over time, our connection with Facebook came because we were actually trying to find somebody who had software where you could like click on a comment and it would just display it on the screen. And we ended up connecting with the company and working with them. And then they got acquired by Facebook. And so, in many ways, the guests were the audience. Like it was kind of everybody was trying to be funny and have fun, and just the community of it. That was a big part of the guests. But that being said, yeah, people didn't necessarily get it, but one of our early on big guests was the new premier here in Saskatchewan. His first ever public appearance on any network was actually in our basement on our show, because he was a new premier. People didn't really know him. And I happen to know the social media person for the previous premier. And so I said, hey, what do you think about having a new premier on the show? In many ways, like, we'll humanize him. It'll be fun. Would he come down and just enjoy himself? And so they said yes. Meanwhile, we heard that everybody in the the legislative building was saying, don't do this. This is a terrible idea. But to his credit, he came on the show. We played Bean Boozled, which is this game where it's like jelly beans, and one flavor is chocolate, one's dog food, one's coconut milk, one's spoiled milk. Like, you don't know what you're going to get. Played that with us. Our first line was, Mr. Premier, can we call you Scotty Too Hottie? And he said, sure, let's go for it. His name's Scott. And like, but we just had a great time. And it was kind of like a pivotal moment where it kind of solidified in us the way that we would approach things, of humanizing people and making it fun, because everybody's tired of the same boring interviews. Even when it came to sports and like hockey, like every interview is the same. Like, oh, like, hey, what happened in the second period? You guys are down. Yeah, we just need to get back to our game plan. We need to, get pucks deep into the zone. We need to go dig them out. We just got to outwork them. We got to keep skating. Make sure passes are tape to tape. Like, it's every single interview ever. They're always the same. And so, it was kind of, I don't know whether that was the moment, it was a light bulb, but it's like, let's take a different approach. And so I remember the first time that we were down in Vegas, we had media passes through a wild, crazy story, but we could be in there interviewing the players in the locker room. We were in this pregame press conference with all the other like NHL level media and local, and out comes Braden McNabb, the pride of Davidson, Saskatchewan, up there. And I'm filming. So I'm elbowing Greg saying, hey, Greg, you got to ask a question. Like, you got to. So he just like puts up his hand. He's like, hey, Greg from Justin and Greg here in Saskatchewan. And Braden says, welcome, boys. And he says, yeah, just wondering if you can compare for us the nightlife between Davidson, Saskatchewan and Las Vegas, and everybody laughs, and they had a good time. And, he kind of had an answer, but like that was the approach of just getting in a different way and using that personality and the power of the new world. And I remember the moment when we were in Vegas for the Stanley Cup playoffs, and we're in the lineup to go into the locker room to interview players. And back behind us a few rows was very well known traditional sportscaster, and they were asking somebody else in the lineup about us because we broke all the media rules. I'm probably in a Riders jersey and green beads and a backwards baseball cap, and we're in jerseys. We're not dressed up. We're not in suits. And he says to the person, like, who the hell are those guys? And the woman he's with like rolled her eyes and said, oh, bloggers, and they were annoyed that we were there. And I get it, because they've probably spent 15 or 20 years in a traditional career getting to the point of getting there. And we got there in 6 months through the new world. But that's the way that it works now, is all the old rules are gone and there's different ways to be able to get ahead. And so that's what we did. We just kind of hacked our way through that. And so not everybody loved it, I think, but there were also many people, especially that person wasn't from Vegas. All the Vegas media, they love us, they know us, they get it. And the team, and and people who understand what we're trying to do, which was the Golden Knights organization, you guys are connecting with a new audience in a new world in a new way, and we respect that. But yeah, lots of the traditional people, they don't get it. They don't like it. When you talk YouTube, I remember being at NAB in Vegas, and I was making some comment about how like YouTube's going to take over Hollywood, and these guys just laughed at me and they said, "Yeah, call me when Spielberg's there," and they laughed and they went off. But the crazy thing is if you look at MASH 1983. MASH premieres, I think around 120 to 130 million people watched the season or series finale of MASH. And back then there was only about 4 million people in the world. Now there's 7 point some, or 4 billion. Now there's 7 point some billion people. Game of Thrones, which is probably the closest equivalent of a big series coming to a season finale that everybody was tuning in for, had about 20 to 25 million people tune in. So we went from 130 million down to 22, 23 million people, but the population of the world has almost doubled. And like adjusted for inflation of that population, like there should have been a couple 100 million people tuning into that, but like where did they all go? Like this was a huge, the most talked about, most hyped season finale. But attention now is so fractured because people watch so many other things in so many other places. And I remember looking that week that Game of Thrones premiered, 20, 25 million people. There's a guy named Evan Fong, Vanos Gaming. He commentates on other people playing video games, and people watch him on YouTube for his takes. That week, he had over 100 million views on his YouTube channel. And every single month, people spend 250 billion minutes of their time watching other people play video games on YouTube. Like, let that sink in for a minute. Not playing video games, 250 billion minutes watching other people play video games on YouTube. And that's the state of the world that we live in, is that the attention is so fractured now because everybody is a network now. Before you needed a network in order to create a show, now you're your own network, essentially. Go on YouTube, start up a channel. And even me, my YouTube channel is like the 892nd thousandth most popular last time I looked. But I've stolen like millions and millions and millions of minutes of people's time that they traditionally would have spent watching other things. And I'm like 892nd thousandth down. And so it's a wild world, and it's cool because now if you know how to work a camera and you can create videos, you can build an audience today and have your own show. Like that's pretty special, and that wasn't something that was possible before.
That is.
That is
Um,
crazy.
Now, because you kind of do have a bit of a reputation for almost being ahead of the curve, and so I'm curious in
Yeah, yeah.
your like, where are you going now? Like, what are you
Oh,
think? What are the things you're thinking about
yeah,
doing? Not
sure.
just today, but 6 months from now. Like, what's kind of going through your brain right now?
Yeah, my problem is like I don't know what I want to do when I grow up. But I'm the kind of personality who once I've done something once, I don't want to do it again, and that becomes a problem when you're trying to build a business because the way you build a business is you figure out how to do something and then you do it and make money off of it. So, that's definitely a challenge. And I would say, yeah, we were even like the Facebook Live show that we were doing was yeah way ahead of its time. There's people doing them now years later, and they're like, we still feel like we're ahead of the curve. So I don't know, like 2021 for my own business, like LinkedIn, I'm creating videos for LinkedIn. That's there's going to be huge opportunity there, but that's more so to try and get some more speaking gigs and educational sessions and like consulting opportunities. But what's next? Yeah, I don't know. My YouTube channel, I continue to feed it selfishly because my wife said I could use that money towards like a golf membership and some new golf stuff. So, I keep making videos, and it's like you never know what video is going to crush for you. And I did one that was like the 10 best vlogging cameras for every budget in 2021,
Yeah,
and that video's made me like $1,500
I
in the
like
last
that
like
video.
40
That
days. Yeah.
have Emery, I don't know if you saw this video, but you should go and watch it. Everybody should actually go and watch it because you'll realize halfway through the video that there's no cuts. Like it's cutting
Yeah.
away to other stuff, but Justin just does it. Like it's crazy. It's really wild to watch.
It's funny how, yeah, early YouTube days, so like jump cuts, I don't actually know the audience for this. Is it mostly like film people? They know what a jump cut is.
It's really not
People
that many people right
Okay,
now, so I
yeah,
wouldn't worry
that's
about
fine.
it.
That's fine. But anyway, jump cuts were like all the rage in YouTube, which normally in traditional filmmaking you would never do a jump cut. Like it's kind of jarring, but everybody was doing jump cuts. And for me, like I do most things in one take. Like it might take me a few tries, but I'll talk for 15 minutes straight. I don't need the cuts, but I saw everybody else was doing jump cuts, and so I started adding jump cuts in because I thought they were doing jump cuts for style, not because they couldn't do the video for 10 minutes straight. And so, it just play to your own strengths. So, but yeah, that video, like the money I make off YouTube will be anywhere from maybe $5,000 a year up to better years might be closer to $10,000. But 80% of it is because I'm talking about cameras, and then I've got Amazon links in the description that people can click on, and then I get commission off that, and then another 20% comes off the actual ad revenue. But yeah, I keep feeding my YouTube channel, one, because I want to learn and know continually what's going on for my own consulting business. Two, I want to make a little bit of money off of it to pay for golf and maybe other things, who knows. And three, I don't know, you never know. Or sometimes I'm just excited to talk about something, and when I'm excited to talk about it, and lately these days it's been almost more around the PlayStation and gaming, and that's a whole other world where streaming and video and stuff kind of collide with gaming of that spot. So
Going back to Nick's question, just about the future for you, what are kind of like for people watching? What would be the trends that people should be watching for?
well, I mean, if you want to talk like social, like TikTok is absolutely insane right now and just completely blowing up. And it's a very different platform in the sense of, if you go to Instagram and you create a great story and you put it on Instagram, a percentage of your followers are going to see it. Maybe it's 10%, maybe it's 40%. But it's a smaller percentage than you're following. Same thing, you post a photo on Facebook, you post it on Twitter, you post it on Instagram, anywhere. It's a small percentage of your followers that see it, and you hope to increase the percentage of that. TikTok is the opposite. If you have 100 followers on TikTok, you can post something on TikTok, and there's a good chance you get 1,000 or 2,000, like a multiple of your following, because of the way that TikTok works, and it's easier to grow if you're doing cool, interesting, fun stuff. So, in regards to social, like TikTok's a very interesting place that is full of creativity. And in the past, and it can, I don't know, it can be weird. Like there's always like weird stuff everywhere. I don't know. Or before, like I felt so old on TikTok, even 6, 9 months ago, I'd log on. I feel like everybody I'm seeing is like, it's all dancing, and they're all much younger than me and much better looking than me. I don't want to be here. Feel weird. But now it actually feels like you can connect with all sorts of, like, Call of Duty. I play Call of Duty, and I watch some Call of Duty videos. I feel like that's a quarter of my TikTok is like crazy Call of Duty videos. But the creativity and the things that you can see on there are actually pretty cool, pretty funny. There's this girl from Scotland who sings songs in a very Scottish accent, and it's like songs that shouldn't be sung in a Scottish accent, sung in a Scottish accent. And like I love it. Everything she does, I'm like, this is hilarious. So there's that side, but YouTube isn't going anywhere. I would say video games as a whole, as an industry, had a huge leap forward this year because of COVID, where there were so many more people at home and so many more people started playing video games as a way. Like for me, it's social. Like I don't really play video games if my friends aren't online. Some people do it as like a kind of a de-stressor and a way to kind of escape or whatever, and that's fine. That's just not me. Like it's a very social thing. But seeing how video games used to kind of be like, people found out like, oh, you play PlayStation like a few nights a week, like are you okay, or are you like, I didn't think you were that like nerdy, or but now it's just like normal. Like everybody does. And so the amount of like leagues and entertainment around that, and like I've got a text thread with a bunch of other guys where right now it's the first like major championship for the Call of Duty League happening the past few days. And so we're texting each other and watching this online, and like that, I think the whole video game world has really gone forward of being more socially and culturally acceptable than it maybe was even 12 months ago.
Going back to one other thing that you mentioned, you talked about the audience fracturing a bit.
Yeah.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing? And who's it good and bad for?
It's a fantastic thing for everyday creators or people who want to just try and build an audience. It's it's incredible for them. For I think a lot of the traditional channels, yeah, it's a big challenge because the numbers are going down because if you before you would, you could have 10 shows. If you got a million people and there's 10 shows, okay, well, you have a chance to get a bigger piece of that pie. Well, now there's literally a million people and a million shows because every single person, it seems these days, is creating content. Like, if you go on and post an Instagram story and I watch the story, that's time that I traditionally would have spent watching something more traditional. And literally every person, at least in North America, can has a phone and is creating content all the time, posting on Facebook, posting a thing on Instagram, posting on YouTube, posting. So everybody is a creator, and it's going to be weird because you don't have those same mass market things in the same way that you used to, but it creates a whole world of opportunity for so many more people. So, it is what it is.
You talked about the change, and you've actually lived through this a bit too, but that audience and that fracturing and things have changed. Um, I guess mostly just like how have you dealt with that change, and how has it affected you? Because you're obviously doing different things than now too, right? Like you're not
Mhm.
Greg and Justin anymore.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, to be honest, like Justin and Greg ended because we like more than ran out of money, and we were trying to make a go at it. And I remember, there were a lot of moments where we thought we were done, and then at the last second something would happen that would kind of keep us going in different ways. And then, as we just kind of got to the end, I remember we were down in LA with Facebook's live team, and they were saying to us, guys, like, just move here or move to New York, and you'll be able to do it. You'll make it, no problem. But I mean, we're from Saskatchewan, our families are here, and that's kind of where we want to be. And that's what's the good and the bad of being from a place like here is you can look around, see what other people are doing, and then kind of prep for it and get ready because it'll come here a few years later. But on the other hand, if you want to do something that was cutting edge, like our show was cutting edge enough that Facebook was taking notice of it and going, "This is really cool what you guys are doing," where they have the benefit of seeing everything, is neat. And so, it is tough. It is tough being on the edge of change because people don't always get it. They don't always understand it. There's been moments even where my own dad, the first time where I said, "Hey, we're taking a trip down to Vegas to go see some hockey games," and because fans have been wanting us to come down there, and he was thinking in his mind at the time, like, this is a waste of time and money. Why would you do this? Like, there was no business. Like, we were paying for the entire trip on our own money and just going down there. But then, all the news came out of it, and there was so much like good stuff that he's like, I get it, I get it, I understand. And so being on change, it's tough and you can be misunderstood. And I would just say social media in general is amazing and it's awful. Not just because of the negativity and the toxicity, but also because every time you see a like or comment or a video view or things going well, you get hits of endorphins. And that becomes very addictive and can become a challenge to manage that of you get addicted to the highs and the lows. I remember when Rural Uber, we put that out and we could see that like every time we refresh the video, like within like every 15 seconds you could refresh and there were thousands more views and thousands more views and hundreds more shares and an endless stream of people commenting, tagging people in it and seeing it. It was like, 3,000, 4,000 shares every hour and just continued to grow and balloon. And it's like you can't look away. You just like, and those are special moments, but it's also like it's highs and it's lows because they don't always work out like that, and so we were chasing dreams and it was super cool, and we have the wildest, most insane stories. Like, we shot the intro video for game 5 of the Stanley Cup final in Vegas from our basement right here. It was a video we put out and went viral, and then the team contacted us and said, we want to use this for the actual intro video, and they showed it to the players in the locker room to get them pumped up before they took the ice. And like there were amazing things of us flying to New York to try and deliver Experience Regina t-shirts to Jimmy Fallon with no plan of how we were going to do it. Well, we had some ideas. None of them worked out. We failed miserably, in a sense. And we were sitting in our hotel room on a Thursday night, and Our last chance effort was we were going to get up at 4 a.m. to go line up for tickets Friday morning to get into the Jimmy Fallon show and hopefully somehow get the t-shirts or do something. And then somebody sends us a message and says, you know that they film Friday's show on Thursday afternoons, right? They do 2 shows on Thursday. And we're just like, oh no, like we're cooked. Like we flew to New York to do this and we failed. And then somebody sends us a message and says, hey, my buddy works on the Tonight Show, give me a minute. And then sends us a note, and they served in Afghanistan together. He followed our Vegas Golden Knights story. We'd never met this guy. He calls in the only favor he's ever called in with this other guy that he served with in Afghanistan to give us a private tour of Jimmy Fallon's studio, and we got to leave t-shirts. And like there were so many wild and insane stories, but it also, yeah, it didn't end how we wanted it to end, and there still feels like unfinished business. But who knows? There's still a world of opportunity out there, and people need to remember too, like all this stuff is really young. Even the internet's pretty young. Like it's 20, 25 years old, maybe. And that's pretty young. And even social is pretty young. And I hope that there is a bit of a not a reckoning in a bad way, but things that help people get back to living normal life and not judging themselves through the lens of how they're seen in a digital context. I don't know if we'll get there or not, but I hope at least people become more aware of it and more careful of the dangers of it. And even for me, when I'm feeling down, it's easy to go and just like check all my social media feeds and see how my video is doing. But then it can be tough where if it's not doing well, then it's like, oh, I was hoping that would do better. Or, like you hear the stories that people, they put up a photo of themselves, and if it doesn't get a certain amount of likes within, 20 or 30 seconds or 5 minutes, they're deleting it. And what that does to a human being's perception of themselves is, it is a little bit sobering, a little bit scary. But you're balanced with the other opportunity of we we reached 150 million people from Regina, Saskatchewan, just through videos on the internet. That's pretty cool.
That is
Awesome.
great. With that too, you just talked about the lows. How did you deal with that, and then how do you deal with it now? How things like that changed for you?
Um,
Like how have you matured? Really is the question.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, well, you learn through experience, and you learn a lot more through failure than you do through success. And so we've had countless failures, and there's stories where we've just screwed things up like badly, mostly because we just didn't pay attention to the details and just mix things up and cost people money and time, and all sorts of failures. So you learn and you grow. And even going back to the early things of the days of vlogging, of forcing yourself to just put something out there, where it's like whatever I have at the end of the day with this vlog is what I've got to put out there. There's something to just pushing yourself. I read so many comments from people over the years on my channels of them saying, yeah, like I filmed countless times, but I just can't get to the point of actually putting it out there, or I keep waiting for it to be good enough, or I can't that's just not how you learn. You put yourself out there, you try it, you grow. And yeah, when there's lows, I mean, I would say it was easier when you have a partner in it, and you can kind of pick each other up, and that is helpful. I mean, for me, my I would say I'm not very religious, but my faith is incredibly important to me. And so that's something that I've absolutely relied on for all the years of my personal relationship with a God who I think loves me, and a father who takes care of me. And as much as things have been hard, myself and my family, we've always been okay. And it's always been taken care of. And there's always been big risks, and there's been failures, but there's been success. And so, um, you can either decide to live a comfortable life, or you can decide to take some risks and realize it's not always going to work out. But in the end, you're probably going to be okay. So, you know, I, I've, I've had the opportunity to live, at least here in Regina, a bit of the Regina dream of a job with a six-figure income and great benefits and 4 weeks of holidays and a great retirement package. And I've been in that job and could have stayed there, and I would have been comfortable, and I could have retired comfortably. But that's just not the life that I personally want to have, because there wouldn't be the same level of growth because of that. So it is looking bigger picture and knowing yourself and what you're about. So yeah.
Perfect. Justin, man, this has
Oh.
been great. Actually, quite unreal. I can't wait to actually get this in the edit and kicked out. Before we let you go, though, Nick, do you
Yep.
have anything?
So we do a photo competition each week where the previous guest gives us a topic, and then we just go out and take a photo. And
Oh, is it like man on man, you against each other? I get to pick the winner between the two of you?
it's yeah, Emery's got a board with keeping score.
Oh man. Here's going to be my consultant though. Is like, is it the better photo? What's the goal of the photo? A better social photo, a better technical photo?
The topic was electricity last week.
Okay.
That was what they said.
Yep.
And then I'm not for because I'm lazy, but I'm yet to have leave my house for any of these photos.
Okay. Yeah.
Just the best photo happened to be in my house. But so I'm gonna share my first one here. So this was the one. I left my house for the first time today. Or not today, but the first time for the photo competition.
Yeah.
So I took kind of stepped on Emery's toes here, a little bit of a landscape.
Okay. I'm not making any comments till I see the second one.
Okay, here I'm gonna stop the share. All right,
is that on a 1DC?
It was on a 1DC, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So the 1DC is essentially the 1DX Mark 1, but with video. So it's an older one, but it's...
if you go on YouTube and you put in 1DC reviews, you're probably going to find a guy named Dave Mays talking about it, or Dave Altizer is his real last name, but he's a buddy of mine, and we even did a video on like the greatest Canon camera at the time, and there was 3 YouTubers, and one was Brandon Washington. He picked the 1DX, I picked the Canon M50, and Dave picked the 1DC.
So, 1DC. Anyway, yeah, it's still like today. It's still my second camera that I shoot everything on. Yeah.
Other than it's motion JPEG, but I know we're running out of time. We'll get into that, which is terrible. But yeah,
you can't. It's weird. So when I go from shooting on the C200, you can be lazy because exposure can be off. You just roll and you're fine. But then when I go back to the 1DC, it's like, okay, I have to be within a half a stop of this exposure, or else.
So now that Nick's done talking, I'm going to actually share my photo. But anyways, I think what makes this photo good is actually not the photo itself, although you might not agree with that. The thing that I like about it is I was out trying to shoot the Neowise Comet. And while I was out the one night, I ran into this group of women on a grid road, all the lights off and stuff, and they were trying to do the same thing. And I started talking to them, and it was like, well, yeah, we should go out and shoot together sometime. So the next thing they wanted to do, and that night too, what ended up happening was that I took a photo of a church, and I light painted the church. So for people that don't know, basically I'm using a flashlight to light up the areas of the church that aren't bright. So I did the photo, pumped it out, and they were all like, man, your light painting looks so natural. What are we doing wrong? And I'm like, I don't know how to explain it. So I'm like, well, let's go out and just do it. And I'll show you guys what I'm doing. So we go out to this other old church with this group of ladies. The idea was to get a galaxy shot over top of this church. That didn't pan out because we got this giant storm.
That's a nice shot, Emery.
This just comes down to putting in the work.
Yeah.
Like this was also done like 6 months ago. In my defense, I did this 6 months ago, but I didn't actually do the edit on it until this past week. And I did have other plans. I actually wanted to go out and get the roar's been showing up. So that's what I had hoped to do. But every night I tried to go out, it ended up being a bust.
Did you just Photoshop the lightning in?
Nope. Yeah, that strike was a little bit closer than I would have liked. Not gonna lie.
Were you using some tool to trigger the shutter when the lightning hit, or you did that yourself?
When I do lightning in particular, I just do it myself. So I do use a trigger system.
Okay.
But it's basically just set up to be uh, I'll let it run like every 8 seconds or something.
Yeah.
8 seconds is kind of where I go for my hotspot. So it'll do
Got
an
it.
8 second exposure. And then once that's done, it'll flip on and do another 8 second exposure and just keep running it.
Well, I'm sorry to tell you, Nick, but I'm going to pick Emery's photo this week.
Yeah, I would have
If
been.
I also
taking
wasn't sure
photos.
whether yours was actually a power pole or a telephone pole.
It could have been either. To be
You know.
honest, I went literally. I did go outside my house. I crossed the street, and then I took
Yep.
what I thought was a power pole, but it could have been a telephone pole.
I wanted to share a lightning photo I had, but you've disabled me allowing to share that.
Oh, here. Well, oh no, Emery can make you the host.
Oh, yeah. Give me 2 seconds. I'll.
Oh, we're just playing hot potato here. I like it.
There you go.
It's not quite. I
You should be the
was
host.
I was at a much safer distance. Okay, I'm just warning you right now. It just made me think of that. Now this is like the poor quality Facebook one. Doesn't matter anyway
Yeah.
for the context of what it was. But you know, similar storm set off, but the moonlight and it's just long exposure. That's how I cheated and got all the lighting in there. But
That's how it's done.
I like that because there's so many. Like at first, it just seems like a nice kind of almost sunset. How the lights hitting the water, but then the bonus of the lightning and stuff in the background. It's really good. It's a really good photo.
oh, thank you. Yeah. But yeah, again, much safer distance. I didn't like lose any hair getting that. Where I feel like Emery, that may have singed a little. I'm sure you felt the heat from it.
Yeah, we shut down after that. Like, so the storm was happening over top Regina, and we're watching it all come, right?
Man.
So the lightning's getting closer and closer, and then all of a sudden that one, it was like, yeah, we're done. It's time to pack up.
That's funny.
Actually, before we even got packed up, so all the ladies got packed up. I helped them set their stuff up and get out. And like literally the one lady, she's leaving in her truck, and I'm still putting my bag in my trunk, and I can just hear the rain coming, just that.
Oh, yeah.
And I got belted. I was soaked from head to toe. But I mean, it was fun. It makes fun, right?
Hashtag worth it.
Anyways, Justin, before we let you go again, can you let us know like where people can find you, what you're doing, that sort of breakdown, just so
sure.
Promote yourself, promote the heck out of Justin.
If you want to follow any of my journeys, adventures, wild stories, I don't know. You can find me literally, I think, on every social media platform at Justin Reves, which is Reves. It's like Reeves, one less E, rhymes with Beavis. That's people don't know how to pronounce it. Rhymes with Beavis. So at Justin Reves. Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. The YouTube channel is a little bit more like kind of tech, but there's vlogging. Facebook has been a little bit more stories. LinkedIn's a little bit more like professional business advice, and Instagram. I'm not on it as much these days, but sometimes you can see my wife sliding down snow hills and things. I don't know. And family of I've got 3 kids. We fostered for 8 years. We've adopted 3 kids. That's a whole other story and a journey. But yeah, I love chatting. I love connecting. If people have questions or comments, just shoot me a note on any platform. I'm always happy to answer and reach out. Do you guys have like a sign off or something? Like, this has been you probably do.
Yeah, well, I think we'll have to do something later, Nick. Because
what about a catchprise? You guys need a catchphrase.
We should. We got
live long and prosper. I think that was taken. To infinity.
Like we've got our artwork. I don't know if you can see it.
Oh,
just 2 camera guys. It's a penguin with my
amazing.
daughter drew this to the little camera that the penguin's holding.
Can
there.
You guys just promise me you'll revive Strong Bad and Homestar Runner? Do you guys watch that?
I used to watch all the time.
Team Death Squad.
I actually refer to it as my compy all the time because
I should send you this link, Justin, though, because so Ruth, my daughter, she remade the Fluffy Puff Marshmallow commercial on her channel. Like she printed out.
I'm not familiar with it.
She printed out the script of the Fluffy Puff Marshmallow commercial from Homestar Runner and did it.
Okay.
Like word for word.
I gotta check this out. It'll like ring a bell. It's just one of those things that like, I don't know what it was, probably 15 years ago now. Just used to watch all the time.
Yeah.
But mostly Strong Bad. He was my favorite. So
yeah, he's good. Nick, do you know what we never did and we should really do? Because I think this is going to be a lot of fun. But so you judged the winner of our contest. We actually need what our next contest is.
Oh,
Now,
yes, that's right.
the best part about this is that our next interview is supposed to start at 3. You might want to give Robbie a little text, Nick. But we need something. So me and Nick are going to have to scramble from something we have that fits whatever topic you give us.
All right. So your challenge this week is a photo that captures the new world. Whatever that means to you, but the new world, how the world is different now than it was before.
This is going to be great because I have no idea right now.
Can be anything. You figure it out. The new world.
Sounds good.
Okay, guys, I should let you go then.
Thanks so much.
3:00. It's
We'll
been a
see ya.
pleasure. Can't wait
Thanks,
to run
Justin.
into you again in the real world. Okay.
See ya.
See ya.
Okay, bye.
Wow, Nick,
Yeah.
that was great. I know I'm going to take a lot away from that. I think a lot of people are going to take a lot away from that. If we do end up getting some Justin and Greg fans from that, I think they're going to get something from that as well. Anyways, I hopefully we talk to Justin again in the future.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah, it's great. You can just sit here and listen to him, and it's weird being in on the conversation because he's so good. It's like you almost don't even want to say anything and interrupt it because it's just great to listen to.
Yeah, if people go to his website, I believe it's justinreves.com. He's got a few other stuff with his actual company as well. But you'll find
We'll leave
on
the
there.
link in the description.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Well, people find in there he's done a TED talk and he touched on some of that today, like what he had said in his TED talk as well. But I think that speaks to the I don't want to say status, but essentially like his status, that he's that good that he's done a TED talk. And actually to put a status on just 2 camera guys, Leighton, one of our first interviews, has also done a TED talk. So like these are influential people. They're people doing real things and having great success at it.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I mean, when else do we get to talk to these people, Nick? Like, it's great that we get to do this, right?
Yeah, it's wild. We get to basically just sit here and learn.
Yeah,
from all our guests.
We started off the show talking about popularity and how that can affect you a little bit, right? And maybe not for the best. With that said, and what we're doing, this is totally social media based. I currently right now, I don't think there's anything that I'm getting more out of in my life.
Well, the nice thing about us, we don't have to worry about popularity with our show.
That's true. I think we should make up a shirt that says the nice thing about us, Nick Lamb. I swear you said it in every episode. It's hilarious. Yeah, whatever. It is true though. Like the nice thing about us is we don't really have to care about that, which makes it fun. And like I said, we can sit down and learn as well as our small audience can learn as well. Nick, I think that's more than enough today. It has been a great day. Thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you in the next episode.
We'll see you. Bye.
Did you know this jersey?
Is that the Islanders?
Yeah.
So I went to school with a guy named Matt Gillies, and Clark Gillies was his uncle.
That's pretty awesome. Clark's a legend. But actually, around that same lines, this person's another Regina Pat legend.
Who's that?
Number 7, Jordan Eberle. You should feel shame.
Oh, okay, Eberle. Yeah, I saw. Did you see that clip of what's his name sniping the goal? Pat's 15-year-old.
Oh, Bedard.
Yeah, did you see that
I did, yeah,
Facebook
I
shot? I zoomed in on it. I wish that they would have had a tight follow on that.
Hey, it's coming soon. It's coming soon. Here, my daughter's calling.
Oh, cool.
Hello. Yeah, welcome. You called. we're trying to do a show here. I think that should work.
Yeah. Do we want to change it? I don't know if we want that Saint one. It didn't quite go as well as I thought.
Give it another go, Nick.
Another go. Right on. Yeah. So I'm really excited to speak to Justin. I actually I followed him through Justin and Greg.
Whoa. Put some effort into it, Nick. Show some energy, like you're actually excited.
Basically saying our number one test. All of the other ones, trash. But now we have Justin. No, that's not true at all.
It's going to be one of the higher quality Zooms I've ever been on, which is nice. Bokeh.
We do. Before we run out of time here, Emery, I wonder if we should get Justin to be the judge here for our photo competition.
I kind of got one more question.
Go ahead.
Just on that same line of thought, then. I totally forgot my question. Thanks, Nick.
Yeah. Although we could have a sidebar conversation about the new M1 MacBook Air, which is what I'm using, that I just replaced a 16-inch MacBook Pro, and whew, it is good. Oh no, I won't be able to do it. But it's insane. I'm editing 4K video on it, no problem, and it's a MacBook Air, and the battery life is easily 16 to 18 to 20 hours if you're just normal use. 2 full days of work is not a problem.
But yeah, Justin's got some great stuff we can learn from. He really does.
Yeah, that interview was solid.